Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Money Radio. It's always a pleasure to welcome Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Laura is an attorney, a real estate agent, and even more important, she's a consumer advocate. She can help put together and negotiate your next residential, commercial, or land transaction, and put together a concrete plan on how to move forward. Laura holds an active Arizona real estate license. She is a certified instructor with the Arizona Department of Real Estate and licensed by the State Bar of Arizona. For more info, the website TalkRealEstateAZ.com, TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Phone number 480-624-2705. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Sinclair.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well.
I wanted to talk to you today about HOAs because I know you're very familiar with this topic. And sometimes a lot of people don't realize that not getting it right with an HOA can sometimes result in foreclosure.
Yeah, HOAs have a lot of power in Arizona, and sometimes it's scary.
We were talking about foreclosures last week, and that can be a big issue. A lot of people have been through foreclosures.
Yes.
For one reason or another. We were talking about credit reports last week.
Right.
And you can help people clean up their credit report.
Yeah. The thing with HOAs is they have the power to foreclose, and they have the power to foreclose if you don't pay your assessments, which would be your monthly dues or quarterly. Some people pay yearly. Those dues, and also there can be additional assessments that are voted on by the HOA, you know, if there's additional money needed for something.
So you have to pay the dues and the assessments.
You have to pay the dues and the assessments, and the HOA has pretty much an automatic lien on your property for that. And that lien has very high priority. Only priority that's ahead of that lien is your first mortgage, not even your second mortgage.
Wow.
So it's interesting because sometimes I'll have a second mortgage company contact me and say that they're going to enforce their lien, and the HOA is already ahead of them.
Getting in line.
Getting in line, right. And so I try to say, you're not going to scare me because the HOA is ahead of you, so they're going to get their money first. But a lot of people get fined by their HOA for violation of the CC&Rs or rules and regulations. The fines are treated differently than the dues and assessments.
And the fines can be for any number of things. Parking wrong.
Yeah.
Don't pull in the garbage container off the street.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, I think. And not pulling weeds. And that can be, it can be bigger. It can be like running a certain kind of business out of your house.
Sure.
You know, where you have like big trucks coming and going and that kind of thing.
Okay.
It can be for not painting your house when they tell you it's time to paint it, things like that. So they can fine you for violation of the rules, but they cannot foreclose.
So if you don't pull your garbage container in off the street, they're not going to foreclose for that?
No, but those fines can add up, and they can sue you. They can sue you for either.
Okay.
They can sue you for past due assessments, and they can sue you for violation of the rules and regulations. And then what happens is, if they get a judgment against you, that judgment, just like any other judgment, operates as a lien against your house.
So then it can really get to be a big nightmare if you're not careful.
Yeah, and the other thing about the assessments is they cannot foreclose unless you're 1 year behind in arrears or you owe $1,200.
Do you get a reasonable chance to catch up if you fall behind?
Well, it depends on the HOA. I've represented HOAs, and I've represented the homeowner against the HOA.
Not one in the same
No,
property.
I cannot do that.
Right.
But some HOAs are very aggressive and have like more of a no tolerance policy.
Okay.
And other HOAs really work with people. And so it's sometimes hard to determine. And you know, the boards on HOAs are voluntary. The board of directors is
Sure.
voluntary. But many HOAs hire a property manager. And usually you're dealing with the property manager and not with the board directly. So you really have to get to know the makeup and the temperament of your particular HOA in terms of how are they gonna work with you.
So some are a bit more aggressive than others, and you just have to be aware of who you're dealing with. What though if you actually have a legitimate complaint of something that
Right.
maybe goes to court?
Well, you always try to deal with the HOA directly first, and I highly recommend in writing. I have a lot of clients who talk to them on the phone, and there's then no documentation about what was said. So I deal with HOAs in writing, and I find that they want my client, if my client's the homeowner, to respond, in a very short period of time, and they can take 2 or 3 months. And I find that to be very unfair. And there was so many complaints about the unfairness that the legislature has set up a procedure where homeowners can request a hearing before an administrative law judge. Because it's so expensive to go to court, and
Right.
you feel like you have no recourse. You feel like you're beating a dead horse. And so, although you always have the option to sue, you want to go to the HOA first. If you can't get relief, then you can ask for a hearing before an administrative law judge, and the legislature has set up a whole process for that.
And whatever you're doing, document it, leave a paper trail.
Document it and photograph,
Mhm.
and, whatever evidence is really key, and it's important to, even if you end up talking to somebody on the phone, document the date and time, what was said, who you spoke to,
Right.
and then confirm it in writing.
So you really have to follow the procedures and understand that this is serious stuff, particularly those assessments and fees. You could lose a property if you're not aware of them.
Yeah, I've had a client whose home, was free and clear and was worth a couple $100,000 and almost lost it to $13,000 in HOA fees.
Wow. Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. I know you know a lot about HOAs. If somebody has a dispute with an HOA, they can contact you. If an HOA wants to get it right and not end up with a lot of disputes, they could also hire you
Yes.
as well to represent the HOA.
Yes.
If you'd like to find out more, 480-624-2705, 480-624-2705, and the website TalkRealEstateAZ.com. TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Laura, always good information. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sinclair.